Alright, today we're talking about sealed product collecting. So if you're going to go to the comments section and type, Wizards prints everything into the ground, it's impossible! Make sure you do it now, because this video's about to go a lot deeper than that. When it comes to taking sealed boxes full of trading cards and sticking them on a shelf behind you, that concept is not exactly new to most TCG enthusiasts. But with Magic the Gathering printing every modern set completely into the dirt, is the concept of sealed product collecting finally dead? Well, I think absolutely not. So today I thought it would be a lot of fun to break down some of the rules and theories I use when evaluating products to add to my collection, show you those rules in practice by showing you some of the things that I'm very high on and personally the things I'm spending my money on, and then finally talk about some popular products in the community that we have tracked on TCG Player that everyone seems to be buying that I'm actually passing on because they don't really fit the mold for me. But it's important that we note at the beginning of this video, these are just things that work for me. This is what I do. No part of this video is financial advice. This is just how I engage with sealed product collecting. And those of you that are familiar with the channel know that when I have this in my hand, we're about to get pretty serious because I don't really take notes. This is kind of a one-take, sit up in front of the camera and talk channel, but I want to make sure I get some of this stuff absolutely right. And as someone who's never actually articulated it before, only ever used it in charts and graphs it in my own head, I want to make sure I don't miss on some of these points. But let's start at the beginning today and let's talk about these kind of pillars, these rules that I use when it comes to collecting new and modern Magic the Gathering product. And the first rule I've wrote down here as buy useful things. And this is the best way I could articulate my kind of golden rule, my number one rule. Every product that I buy, I want it to have a use. I want to have a purpose. I want to be able to see it and vocalize or at least theorize the purpose of that product. Second, I want to understand the community's reaction to that product, both financially and emotionally. As we talked about before, I track every single sold listing of sealed product on TCG Player, so I have a good idea when sets release, how they sell, how they don't. I actually expose that data to all of you guys in various videos, and again, if you're not subbed to the channel, make sure you click that sub button if you want to be interested in stuff like that. Also, we're racing to 5,500 subs, so getting there would be pretty cool. But I want to understand not only the financial aspect, but the emotional aspect. Some of these sets, when they come out, they ring a bell or they resonate with players and enthusiasts in different ways that I don't see coming. Phyrexia All Be One is a big one there. So I want to make sure I have a good understanding of that. Third, I try to zig when others zag to an extent. I'm not telling you all that I'm going to go out and buy nothing but Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate because everyone says it's trash. I don't think you should just buy trash product, but I think when the community says they don't like something and something is terrible, that's the time to take a step back and really evaluate the product, think about it a lot, and most often you'll find that it's just a garbage product, but sometimes you might find some gems. And then fourth, the last rule is from the famous poker player Mike McDermott from the Movie Rounders. The advice is always leave yourself an out. Have a backup plan. And that doesn't just apply to only spend the money you can afford to spend. That's definitely how I engage with the product. But always have a backup plan for that product. And I constantly put these rules into effect when I buy product and kind of fill the shelves that you see behind you. And some of the popular products I've been buying recently are some things that I think a lot of people are overlooking. The first thing that I have been looking at, especially with modern Magic, is the draft box. I know, the draft box. According to all of our sales data for TCG Player, modern Magic draft boxes are not great. People don't seem to be buying them in large numbers. People don't, stores aren't selling them in large numbers. And frankly, they're overlooked when it comes to adding sealed product on most shelves. But I find these boxes, or these draft boxes, tick a lot of my boxes for rules that I have with product. First and foremost, they have a use. They will always be useful, and especially sets that follow rule number 2 and elicit a strong either financial or emotional reaction from the community are sets that I think people will always love going back and playing. And my out with draft boxes is, well, if I have my friends over and I want to draft down the road and everyone wants to pay for their own draft, well, you know what? I've paid for some of, if not most of my box when that time comes, regardless of its value on some weird secondary market at that moment. So these boxes fit a lot of my bills, and actually they also fit zig when other people zag. So I really like Modern Magic draft boxes, and actually just off camera here, I have to add a couple more to the shelf. I have a Brothers War draft box and a Phyrexia All Will Be One draft box. I think these draft boxes are great things that I'm going to love having on my shelf. They're going to bring me a lot of joy to see, and then one day down the road I can either crack them and play with them, sell them to somebody who wants to crack them or play with them, and I think they will do extremely well both emotionally and financially because, again, they were popular sets. People seem to enjoy them, and I think people will want to revisit this time in Magic's history, although with the amount of product Wizards printing, it might take a little bit longer for us to get there. But not all draft boxes are created equal. I do like to try to follow as many of my rules as possible when it comes to some of this product, and for that reason, March of the Machine draft is something that I'm actually skipping. That's right, I'm skipping your mom's draft. I'm not showing up. Also, we're not talking about Aftermath here. I'm buying a couple Aftermath Epilogue boosters to put on the shelf just because I think the shape of the box is neat. It's nifty. But when it comes to March of the Machine draft boxes, I don't like the limited play experience. I talked about it on the podcast over on Kitchen Table TCG, and I actually jumped in a bunch of March of the Machine drafts on Arena because I had to know. I wanted to kind of get my hands dirty, get my feet wet, and feel how the format played. And I didn't really like the format. It didn't bring me any joy. And that is a product where if it didn't, go up in value or something, I wouldn't find great joy using it down the road for the purpose of drafting that product. So, that product for me really didn't fit the bill, and I encourage people who want to follow these rules, who want to build their own sealed product collection, to really dig deep and evaluate some of these products. But that doesn't mean all of March of the Machine is absolutely dead. There's actually a good example of following a good amount of the rules, kind of leaning harder into some of the rules than others when it comes to March of the Machine collector boxes. I think it's important to note that the community had a very strong reaction to March of the Machine collector boxes. These boxes elicited a strong emotional response now, and I think that emotional response actually grows over time, right? The time capsule of traveling through modern Magic is amazing in that box, and collector boxes always have the usefulness of somebody wants to open expensive and shiny fancy product, right? That will always be a use of collector box. Now, this doesn't really fit zig where other people zag. This is a popular box, and people are chasing down serialized cards and, Multiverse Legends. Hey, that's another use of the box that I had in my notes here, but I just didn't say. So I really think that's an interesting product, and I like the way that kind of fits the bill, and that transitions into something like these hidden gems that you can find out when you have to zig when other people zag. While March of the Machine collector box doesn't zig when other people zag, there's good examples of that in things like the Streets of New Capenna collector box that I have behind me. Now, Streets of New Capenna was a weird one. It went on crazy budget sale. You could get it for crazy cheap, and it's like, you really just feel like you can't miss when it comes to something like that. But I'm really high on something like Streets of New Capenna because I think it checks a lot of boxes. First, I think the product is extremely useful. There's a ton of playable cards in Streets of New Capenna, and the unique foiling treatment in the set is something that seems like it might be difficult to create, or Wizards of the Coast really has very low motivation to ever create outside of another Streets of New Capenna set. Revisiting that kind of storyline or that era or that area of the Magic the Gathering design space. And really, there's really no reason for us to ever go back there because frankly, it wasn't exactly a hit with the community. So while it misses there, I think it's an extremely useful box. It definitely fits zig where other people zag. And as far as a backup plan with that box, well, frankly, you were able to get them so cheap for so long that I will just open them and enjoy them and maybe sell some of the singles that come out of that, add some of them to my Gilded Foil collection that I talked about on the Friday Morning Magic live stream. I really think that product is very cool. Moving on from that, I think that you could also do some of that with things like Dominaria Remastered. Dominaria Remastered came out to trumpeting fanfare and everyone loved the product, and then when it started to fail on the secondary market and started to fall and stores had too much of it, I think people were very quick to jump off that product. It's a very fun product to draft. It's a wonderful limited play experience, and I think the collector boxes have a lot of excitement when it comes to their the opening value for them. So I like things like Dominaria Remastered, Streets of New Capenna as well. But there are some products out there, I will admit, that everyone is extremely high on that frankly I am not. And the big one is the set booster box. That's right, the set booster box is something that everyone is so high on, right? Everyone loves the set booster box. In fact, according to the data we track, it's always the most sold box. But I think it misses on a lot of my my rules here that I like to apply when it comes to buying sealed product. When it comes to the usefulness, yes, it always has the use for pack opening, right? People like to open packs, people like to chase cards. But as time goes on, I think people are going to want to chase the shinier cards, the serialized cards, the multiverse legends of cards, the full art Praetors, and things of that nature. And I think to do that, they're going to want to spend a little bit of extra money and find the collector box for that nostalgic experience more than they're going to want to spend a moderate amount of money and have no chance at these things in the set box. I think this is an area where the set box falls short in the long term, personally, again, just for me, but I'm open to be proven wrong, and hey, maybe that's something that will continue to be popular. I really think it just doesn't fit that. I also think Zig when others zag, this is the opposite of that. Everyone's constantly buying set boxes for all of these recent sets. It's by far the most popular product hitting the market, and because of that, I don't really need to reopen one in 5 years or see it on my shelf to bring me any joy. I know it's out there, I know there's a ton of them, and there's a ton of all these products, to be frank, but it's just something that doesn't really do it for me. So again, the set box being the most popular is something that I actually think is not a great addition to my personal sealed product collection. Furthermore, there's something I believe about Secret Layers that, frankly, I know is just wrong. Secret Layers, I think if you are an investor or are tied to the idea of your things that you buy going up in value, Secret Layer is probably a fantastic place to park a buck. I wouldn't know. It's not something I ever advise on. It's just something, it seems like it would be limited printed. It would be hard to get. You can only get it for a limited amount of time. Once it's gone 2, 3, 4 years, it's gone forever. But I don't think it's around long enough for players or enthusiasts to build any kind of emotional attachment to it. It doesn't really have any usefulness other than you open the Secret Layer and you have shiny versions of these cards, all which can just be achieved by buying singles, right? I really don't think there's any experience there. Zig when others zag, it's a very popular promotion for Magic the Gathering, and as far as an out goes, well, there really isn't one. If I'm stuck with this thing, I can't really have a friend over, have an experience, do an opening video on YouTube and things of that nature. It doesn't really fit my rules. And so for that reason, most Secret Layers, as far as I'm concerned, are out. Now, there are some Secret Layers that make exception for. I think it was the Little Walker's Secret Layer, or it was a different Secret Layer, but it was direct to the LGS, and MinMax Games got a bunch of these. Channel sponsor got a ton of these, and they sold them to their community from Wizards of the Coast. I will always buy those Secret Layers to support the local game stores, and if you guys want to support this channel and my local game store, visit minmaxgames.com, pick up some Magic the Gathering product. They always have smoking deals way beforehand. If you were going to buy Aftermath, they had Aftermath for super cheap way before anyone else did, so make sure you get your products from MinMax Games. And guys, this is just kind of what I do when it comes to collecting sealed product. As you can see, I've built kind of a large collection between the multitude of different filming scenes that I have here, and I'm going to continue to do so. And as the collection grows, I'm going to keep each and every one of you updated. Thanks so much for hanging out today. Thanks for listening to this little talk. I want to know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this is a good way that I'm building my collection? Do you think this is an absolute miss? Do you think I should only be buying reserved list cards? I want to get a little more creative than that, but you know what? Listen, that's a take and that's an option. So until next time, you all know me. My name is Josh. Let me know how you feel about this video in the comment section below. And until next time, I guess we'll see you around. See you later. Bye.